Live from Waterford and the Virgin Media Broadband Studio in Dungarvan, this is Waterford at 1 News.
Good afternoon, I'm Reddy. Today's top stories. There's been a broad welcome to the news that the Garda station in Waterford City is the new divisional headquarters. A Waterford councillor has questioned the proposed relocation of Plunkett train station. Rental costs in Waterford had the fastest growth rate according to a report from the Residential Tenancies Board. And in sport, Jack Carty will make just his second test start for Ireland when they face Japan on Saturday. A Waterford TD says the city and county can breathe a sigh of relief after confirmation that it will remain the Garda divisional headquarters. It was announced yesterday the new Waterford Carlow Kilkenny Garda division will be located in Waterford City. Kilkenny Garda station had been the divisional headquarters in the Carlow Kilkenny division. It's now being amalgamated with Waterford. Kilkenny will be the headquarters for the Garda's eastern region and so will retain a chief superintendent. The plan is based on population numbers, geography, projected growth and crime trends. Sinn Féin's David Cullinan says it was the right decision.
If a decision was made to move the headquarters outside of Waterford, that would have been a disaster, both in terms of the status of policing in Waterford City, but also Waterford's place as the regional capital. That was a very real concern. We have been able to work together to make sure that that didn't happen, that it wasn't moved outside of Waterford City, and I think we have to take that positive and now build on that to ensure that we get other key issues over the line. But I think this is a positive win, not just for Waterford, but I would argue for the region.
Waterford Minister of State John Halligan says he had no doubt common sense would prevail on this issue.
And it's only right that it should be the case because Waterford being the largest population, geographically and otherwise, that puts an end, as I said, to the speculation that this would not happen, that it would be removed from Waterford. I don't think that was ever going to happen. One of the most progressive cities in Ireland. I never believed myself that this was going to happen. So it's good for Waterford and good for the region as well.
A Waterford councillor has questioned the proposed relocation of Plunkett station. The station is to be moved down towards the wharf as part of a transport hub for the North Quays project. Planning permission has been granted by An Bord Pleanála. However, Sinn Féin's Pat Fitzgerald says the train station is working fine in its current location.
Like if you're going to shift a railway station 200 metres, at what cost does it? Like it's functioning perfectly well now. I've never heard a complaint from the railway station. So if we're going to shift it 200 metres, at what cost do we shift a perfectly functioning railway station to somewhere where we don't know how well it's going to operate in there? We don't know if it's ever actually going to even be there.
While the cost of relocation is estimated to be €36 million, the Council's Director of Planning, Michael Quinn, says it's needed as the train station's current location isn't ideal.
I would argue around the point of whether the current train station is meeting all of its current capabilities. The parking is limited, as we're aware. There is no direct access for public transport. Access for pedestrians is, it's okay, but it's at best okay. It's certainly more removed from the city centre. The current train station doesn't have cycle parking, doesn't have public transport, has limited drop-off and limited taxis.
These people in Waterford gave their views on the train's current location.
It's a good idea, yeah. I think the infrastructure is very outdated in this country, as you know. But the Waterford-Rosslare line was a big loss. There's only one bridge, and a good idea would be pedestrianised bridge. It makes a lot of sense. It'd save a lot of pedestrian time walking across the main road and stuff.
I think it's a harbour bridge of class. I was caught the other night and I was walking, all of a sudden, bang, this torrentious rain. And I tell you one thing, I walked in here, I had to go into the bathroom to dry myself. I was that bad. And I suppose for convenience to the city centre, because a lot of people like to use the hotels, the likes of the Granville, the Tower. So if it was easier to access those, yes, I think it wouldn't be a bad idea.
Rental costs in Waterford and 6 other counties grew at double-digit levels in the last 3 months. Waterford had the fastest growth rate of 13.9% annually, according to a report from the Residential Tenancies Board. The average rent in Waterford's €843. The board says the sharp increase may partly be due to Waterford City having the lowest base rent level in comparison to the other major cities. Carlow and Macroom are the latest areas to be added to the list of rent pressure zones. Director of the RTB, Rosalind Carroll, says rents still vary greatly around the country.
If you look at outside of Dublin, the lowest rent there is €489 per month, and that's in the Lifford area in County Donegal. Whereas if you look in Dublin, it's 2,328 in the Stillorgan area. So you're looking at very, very different rents in some parts of the country.
The Housing Minister, Owen Murphy, believes the rent controls that are in place are capable of protecting tenants.
Rents are too high, and people who are working hard are paying far too much of their hard-earned money to go towards their rent, and that's not fair. That's precisely why we changed the laws to protect renters, to increase the use of rent controls, and we did that just earlier this year. But those laws came in just after the reporting period that we're hearing about today. I'm very glad to see that the RTB is using its new powers at the moment already, and it's also important to see that new supply is coming online.
The Mayor of Waterford, John Pratt, says he'll continue to campaign to get the derelict hotel in Lismore reopened as a community project. The oldest purpose-built hotel in the country was commissioned by the owner of Lismore Castle, the Duke of Devonshire, in 1797 to accommodate his invited guests. It was purchased last September after lying idle for over a year. However, it remains closed, meaning there's a severe lack of beds in the heritage town. John Pratt says he'd love to see it taken over by the community.
Even when the events are on here locally, whether it's in Rama or the Blackwater Opera Festival and that, you're kind of limited in the amount of availability of bed nights. Obviously there's a cost involved, but I don't know if there's such thing as a community hotel that could be somehow taken over. Obviously it has to be paid for up front, and then going forward that it could be sold back into private ownership.
Gardaí detained 21 people for various offences ranging from theft, drugs, burglary and public order offences on Tuesday last as part of Operation Storm. It's a targeted deployment of all operational resources in the Waterford district designed to prevent crime, apprehend criminals wanted on warrant and enhance road safety over the course of one day. Over €14,000 worth of drugs and over €9,000 in cash was seized in 4 searches. 2 people were searched under the Misuse of Drugs Act. 2 vehicles were seized, 15 warrants were executed and 12 people were taken into custody, and 184 summons were served on 56 defendants. Motorists in Waterford are being reminded not to park their cars on footpaths. Today is Make a Way Day, which aims to highlight the obstacles people with disabilities face on a daily basis. Sean Rowan from the Waterford Disability Network says they have examples of the problem across the city and county.
At the church out in Lisduggan, we get photographs sent in to us every week by different people that the cars are on the footpath on both sides of the road. So if you're on a wheelchair, if you're pushing a pram, if you're an elderly person with a walking frame, you have to either go into the grass, go onto the main road to get past these cars, which is not good enough. Just to give one example, the beautiful walk down to the Strand Hotel in Drummer East, completely ruined by one car parking on the actual footpath. So again, if you've got any holiday makers in a wheelchair or with a pram, they'd have to go on the main road to go around that one car.
A spokesperson for University Hospital Waterford says no services are affected by the temporary relocation of the Cardiology Day Ward and Mobile Cath Lab Day Ward into the Dunmore wing this week. The move is in order to complete the essential upgrade of the fire and lighting system.
WLR Sport.
Very good afternoon, I'm Gavin. Whelan. First to rugby, and Jack Carthy will make just his second test start for Ireland when they face host Japan at the Rugby World Cup on Saturday. The Connacht fly half comes in for Johnny Sexton, who remains sidelined with a minor thigh injury. Assistant coach Andy Farrell says Carthy is ready for the occasion.
I think Jack's strength of character is one of not just his work ethic to get across his detail, but being himself. I think that's the most important thing. You want to see guys, especially guys that are in important pivotal positions, to be able to retain all the information, but also see the game as it's unfolding, and he's comfortable in his own skin to be able to do that.
Fit again, Joey Carberry is on the bench. Rob Kearney returns at full back. Keith Earls is on the wing, while Chris Farrell replaces Bundy Yaki in the Irish midfield. It's a 8:15 Irish time kick-off on Saturday morning. There was a big victory for Italy earlier on this morning. To news of Gaelic games next, and Liam Cahill has stepped down as Tipperary under-20 hurling manager amid speculation linking him with the vacant senior position in Waterford. Cahill led the Premier to 4 All-Ireland finals, winning 3 of them. He also steered them to All-Ireland minor success in 2016. It's semi-final weekend in the County Senior Hurling Championship. 6 in a row chasing Ballygunner take on Dungarvan in Fairfield at 2:30 on Sunday afternoon. That's a game we'll be broadcasting live here on WLR thanks to George Corbett Skoda, with commentary team Kieran O'Connor and Dan Shanahan. Mount Sion are back in their first County Senior Hurling Championship semi-final since 2016 on Sunday evening, when they take on Eastern rivals De La Salle in Welsh Park at 5:15. Mount Sion captain Mark Hoban says they're delighted to be back in the last 4.
Yeah, look, we should be getting to semi-finals and finals every year, you know what I mean? We're after leaving ourselves down the last couple of years. But yeah, we're here now and we're ready to go. Yeah.
Throw in for that one is at 5:15, and Tomas McCarthy will have updates here on WLR. Abbeyside play host to Mount Sinai in the Division 1 County Minor Hurling Championship quarter-final this evening. That one is underway at 7 p.m. To soccer, and Jurgen Klopp has praised Republic of Ireland under-21 goalkeeper Caoimhín Kelleher for his performance on his debut last night. The Cork youngster made a couple of big saves in keeping a clean sheet in the Premier League leaders' 2-0 win at MK Dons in the Carabao Cup. Klopp says Kelleher played an important role in the victory.
You saw then, it's lesser the physicality, it's more the concentration level that you keep it really on that high level, and that's why we already had these chances. But Caoimhín is a wonderful goalkeeper, and I'm happy that he could show that tonight.
Richard Keogh has emerged as a doubt for the Republic of Ireland's upcoming Euro 2020 qualifiers against Georgia and Switzerland. The Derby defender has suffered a wrist injury as a passenger in a car crash. Shane Duffy picked up a calf issue in Brighton's loss to Aston Villa in the Carabao Cup last night. Padraig Carrington is 3 under par after 10 holes of his opening round at the Alfred Dunhill Links Championship. He's 3 shots behind the joint leaders there, Russell Knox and Matthew Southgate. Rory McIlroy is 2 under midway through his round at Carnoustie. Paul Dunn is on 1 over after 7, and Shane Lowry is 1 over through 13. And finally to racing, where there's an 8 race card at Goran Park this afternoon. The first they're going to post at 20 to 2. That's the latest on WLR. More at 2.